Hi guys, the date is April 6, 2026, and this is a video about expectations mainly around friends and about lowering them, because I talked about in a previous video boundaries versus expectations and why it's usually better to put up boundaries. But in terms of the context of how we're talking about today, I think expectations is a better word to use. Yeah. So when it comes to setting up expectations with friends, is the first point I'd like to get down is it is better to be the only person who can see your value and be the only person who can see your value with no one, treating you like you don't have value, if you know what I mean. It's better for you to be alone and be able to see your value than be around 2 or 3 people who can't see your value. But with that said, there are different expectations you can set around different people. So on the topic of, first let's start out with people who can see your value. You can set, you can be yourself around these people. You can hang out with them kind of whenever. Like, these people, they get you because, and they appreciate you and you appreciate them. That's a healthy relationship. But let's then take someone who doesn't see your value and does not appreciate you, maybe is not kind to you. Then you have to, I'm gonna be 100% blunt. It is your fault if you're getting hurt by these people. And I'm talking about in context, because this is very in context. But I kept getting hurt by these people growing up, and I didn't realize why. And now I understand. It's because I was setting the same expectation as I set for those people who I get really well along with and see my value. You can't set the same expectation for everyone, is what I had to realize. And for example, there's these 2 guys I go to the gym with, and they are really oblivious and unkind and kind of just in that mindset, and I don't blame them for it, but it just kind of is. They just kind of are in that mindset of taking advantage and getting as much as they can, and since they're both like that, they get along really well. But me personally, I value other things. So when it comes to hanging out with them, I don't invite them over to my house because I know what's going to happen. I will go to they're funny at the gym, and it's cool having someone to hang out with at the gym, and they know what their stuff, because they go a lot, and I'll hang out with them at the gym, and they invite me to go to the gym with them. They get value out of it too. But that is what I mean about saying an expectation is I expect only what they can give. I expect, friendly conversation and maybe some gym pointers here and there. And that's how I see their value. And I'm guessing they just expect, me to come in with some energy and have a good time while lifting. And they can see my value. But if I, take another one of my friends, for example, he sees a lot of value in me, I'm guessing around my conversation. We like to talk about deep stuff together. But if I try to open up that section of me, that section of my value, to these other guys I go to the gym with, they're not going to appreciate my value, and that's going to hurt it, you know? So I don't have the I've lowered my expectations around them, but I also put tighter boundaries. Like, I'm not going to invite them over to my house, or I'm not going to talk about maybe philosophy with them, you know? Yeah. But the other night, I really wanted to make this video, especially because the other night I had an experience where, you know, I thought there was something wrong with me when I was just in a bad environment. So I had been invited to this function because I had some brownies, and they were like, hey, River, why don't you come over? You can bring your stuff. And I had right when they said that, the thought went into my head, they don't see value in me, they only see value in what I can bring and what I can give and the physical stuff. And that should have been alarm bell number one. But I bring the stuff over, and then I didn't really match up, you know, I didn't really, I guess you could say, vibe with the majority of the guys there. I didn't really know them that well, but I don't think we were very similar. You know, they were talking about, like, how many girls they've done it with this week, or, there's different people sending them stuff on Snapchat and then talking rubbish about other people I don't know. But I'll be honest, like, that's not really my thing. And it led to, you know, I was just kind of quiet, and I started to think, you know, why can't I say something? Is there something wrong with me? Am I stuck in my head? Like, what's going on? And then one of the guys there, he added me into the conversation. He was like, hey, yeah, and maybe it talked about something that happened. And then I realized, and then I started joining the conversation. It was easy. And I started to drift out again when they would change topic. And then I realized they're just not including me, you know? They're just not conscious of it. Yeah, and when that guy did include me, it made things so much easier. You know, it just made it the conversation flow. And that's when I realized, you know, there's nothing wrong with me or my social skills. It's just these guys aren't including me in the conversation. They value different things. These are not the kind of people I want to be around. And it was a decently unpleasant night just because I had eaten some of the brownies and I couldn't drive back home, so I had to stay there till morning, and I just kind of hung around. But, you know, either drinking or doing other recreational things like that, it won't actually improve your experience. It'll just enhance what you're already feeling. And so when I was feeling pretty rubbish, it just made me feel more rubbish. You know, it just made it last longer, the night. But yeah. And what I'm realizing is, you know, just you know, set better expectations. And it was a bad habit of expecting too much from, I don't want to say people like that, but people in general, you know, just expecting too much and getting let down. And, you know, that was a bad habit that I used to do a lot, but now, you know, I've worked through it, and I've started matching as I talked about the guys in the gym, I've started matching my expectations to what people can actually give, and allows an equal exchange of value. You know, I see their value, they see mine, we have a good time, everybody's happy. And now my issue is more based around, I've put the expectations and the boundaries in its place, but I don't have many people still around that sees my value, if you know what I mean. I don't know how to phrase it. I have, you know, maybe like talking about this stuff is a value I like to give, and I like to improve and like hear other people's perspectives. But because it's a situation where, you know, I don't have those people, it's kind of just me, myself, and I. But yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that stuff, and yeah. My plan is, hopefully I'm going to move to the city that a lot of the people I knew, like a good friends with, that I find, you know, they see my value and I see theirs. I was planning to move to that city at some point this year, hopefully, and that would be amazing. But yeah, I think that's the end of the video.